All right. We are live, boys. We have 2 days left until Bitcoin creates a top wick. If Bitcoin does not come towards $93,600 at the very least, then we're going to be in a bit of a trouble. I think it's very clear if we do not form that top wick, then I hate to say it, but hey, I think this market is hella manipulated. Because how often do you see a weekly candle without a wick on either side? Even a small wick has to be there. We barely even have any. We're bald. Bitcoin's weekly candle for this week is bald. There's no top wick. Immediately, Asia Open nuked, following the CME futures nuke an hour before Asia session opened this Monday. So today is Thursday, boys. We got today and tomorrow for institutions or any major players to decide what they want to do with Bitcoin. But this is also a bit tricky because what we've been seeing very lately is most of these moves are futures driven. We have been seeing spot driven rallies for Bitcoin, but when BTC kicked in a higher gear towards 97k, a lot of futures and options positions have been opened, and it's still clear to this day we did not learn from the October 10th flash crash of Binance. People are still over leveraging in Bitcoin, and that is why you're seeing many chops. We'll also get into that. And also, boys, last night was hella wild. It was when Trump talked in the World Economic Forum. This happened. This was the moments leading up towards Trump's speech in Davos, the World Economic Forum. Then an hour after he spoke, the market nuked. But then later, when he was interviewed in CNBC, BTC went back up again. This is a complete V-shaped reversal. And honestly, when I saw this happening live just before I went to bed, I thought we were cooked. I thought we were cooked because yet again, BTC last night created a new low. I thought this would be the new low, but at 87,700, but last night created that new low at 87,200. But then, after I woke up, I looked at my phone, looked at the notification, BTC back to 90k. I thought, then what are we doing here? Like, are we cooked or are we not? I'm so confused, right? So in this stream, let's talk about that. Let's see what we're going to be doing. What are we planning to do if we do not get a top wick for this week? This weekly candle, we don't have a top wick yet, and let's discuss if that will come or not. Okay, we'll look into that. And also, let's also dive into the current sentiment right now, especially after yesterday Trump's Davos speech in the World Economic Forum. He's addressed a couple of very important points as well that has led the market to become risk on during this time right here when BTC made a recovery, a V-shaped recovery after the dump back towards 90,000. But also, I feel like this risk on sentiment won't be long-lived. I think it will be quite short-lived simply because of the looming factor of the Japanese yen and its bond markets. We'll also discuss that. Okay? All right. How many people we got? If you're on, say hi. Hello. Hi. Okay? All right. First and foremost, let's talk about, Trump's speech last night. If you haven't tuned in, there's a full transcript but on weforum.org. Full transcript of the address by Donald Trump on the whole situation. Frankly, if you watched it, it was actually really entertaining. This guy, even though Trump is wild, one thing is for sure, when it comes to public speaking, he is really, really good, because I remember like 80% of the stuff he talks about because the way he dumbs it down, and he's just very straightforward like that. And compare, if you listen to maybe Jerome Powell on FOMC, how much can you really remember? Be honest, right? I certainly remember Trump saying that that Iceland called him daddy. Like, that's just in my mind the whole time. So it's a full transcript. You can read this if you want to take the time to. But basically, the summary done very nicely here on Reddit. He started by saying the US is in the fastest economic turnaround in history thanks to tariffs. But, you know, overall, as if you know economics, tariffs is not good in the long run. You want to really encourage no intervention in international trade, right? But he's saying the inflation is defeated, core inflation at 1.5%, Q4 growth projected at 5.4%, growth running at double the IMF forecast. On energy, so there's a couple of sections here if you just want the TLDR on the main topics he addressed in the speech. On energy, gasoline soon below $2 per gallon, US natural gas production at all-time highs, nuclear energy becoming a core focus, access to 50 million barrels of oil from Venezuela. By the way, nuclear energy becoming a core focus, do not overlook this, because if you think gold, if you think silver are a clear winner in the commodities market, there's actually one: uranium. Okay, I think uranium will be a very strong commodity. The problem is you cannot invest in uranium. It's very rare to see a vehicle or an instrument for you to for everyone to invest in uranium. You simply can't. But you know, with the process, the production of uranium is very intensive, and the demand for uranium is super high. But I think soon we'll be able to invest in uranium through tokenized stocks or a tokenized asset, right? This is where the blockchain come in, and I really hope that most of the media will shed a lot of light on the properties of blockchain, because now you can't really invest in uranium unless it's going to be tokenized. And talks of this have been gone about. Tokenized uranium goes live on the Tezos network back in 2024, but the volume is still very low for that. Hex Trust integrates Etherlink and enables custody for tokenized uranium. This headline came up, and I think a lot of people were overlooking it. If you are late to the metals game, you can try uranium, tokenized uranium. Just make sure that it is, you know, pegged to the actual price itself. So keep an eye on uranium if you want to invest in, not financial advice, but if you want to gain some exposure to commodities, if you're late on the gold and silver front. And I really hope from this, the media will really shed a lot of light on the blockchain, right? Like, come on, man. This industry is boring as hell right now. No one's talking on CT. It's just bulls and bears and all that. But I miss the times when people were really glazing the tech of blockchain the stuff and all that. So keep that in mind, okay? Trump is saying nuclear energy becoming core focus. How we can capitalize on that is through uranium. And uranium, hard to invest in because there's no, you know, instrument. So tokenized uranium will be the next thing, the next big thing. Okay, you hear it from here first. Okay. So what this means, energy is being framed as national power. Cheap fuel lowers inflation, boosts growth, and give the US leverage globally. Energy independence becomes a political and economic weapon. On Europe, he said Europe is not heading in the right direction. He kept blasting on the UK building windmills, and he's on about how they're getting these materials from China. Well, when he looked at China, there's no windmill. He's saying that the China scammed the UK, right? Well, why are you building windmills? And you know about Trump and his unhealthy obsession with windmills, how he hates windmills. But he's saying, yeah, Europe not heading in the right direction, blame green energy policy and mass migration. UK electricity prices up 139%. European energy levels called catastrophic. He also, which is left out here, he said in the speech about how the UK is not mining or like not getting enough oil. They actually have an abundance of resources in the North Sea or some shit where they have access to that, but they're not capitalizing on that. So that is a valid point that Trump has made during that speech on his criticism of Europe. And on China sells wind turbines but uses coal. China is doing just fine. On markets, this one got a lot of people riled up on CT. Stock market dips are peanuts. The stock market will double. Good news should push markets higher. So he's saying, how much is where we're at right now with the S&P is 6,700. Where are we at? So effectively, he's saying the S&P 500 will be at 12,000 this year. The Dow Jones will be at 100,000 this year. And the Nasdaq will be at 50,000 this year. Can he really hold up that promise? No comment on that. Okay. On monetary policy and Fed, this is also another thing you should be paying attention to if you're in crypto, okay? Because right now, interest rate is the only narrative that we have pushing for pumps, all right? And he's really pressuring that the US should have the lowest interest rates in the world. Powell was late. He's really pressuring Jerome Powell to lower the interest rates. And if he doesn't, he's going to be in a lot of trouble. That's what he's saying. And here, more importantly, specifically on crypto, he's addressing the market structure regulation coming. Now, we know that a few days ago, they have been delaying the Clarity Act bill and the market structure regulation. And this has been complicated because Coinbase has also withdrawn their support from the bill. But now it seems like they're talking about getting back in. So Trump is saying the bill may be signed soon. Crypto is politically popular. China must be lying. He's still beefing with China on that. All right. And here's the most important part for the Greenland story and the tariffs, right? So he's saying the U.S. pays for NATO. They have been paying the whole thing. The U.S. gives more than it gets. The U.S. will defend NATO, but doubts NATO would defend the U.S. Here he was talking about the battleships. This is what I remember the most. The battleships are 100 times more stronger than the one in World War II. He kept saying 100, 100. So basically, he's putting pressure on Europe. Security now has a cost. Alliances are becoming transactional. Then came the most serious part, Greenland. No nation can secure Greenland except the US. Greenland is part of North America. Immediate negotiations to acquire Greenland. No force, but you can say yes or no and we will remember. So at least he's saying there's no military action to pursue his quest for Greenland. And after that is where I think we saw the pump for crypto reversing from 87K to 90K. Was he said on his Truth Social platform that the US and NATO had formed the framework of a future deal with respect to Greenland and in fact the entire Arctic region. And that, based upon this understanding, Trump will not be imposing the tariffs that were scheduled to go into effect on February 1st. So it seems like Trump is backing down on tariffs for the time being, okay? So that is what prompted the market to be risk on momentarily last night after the World Economic Forum. You saw that dump like this, and I really thought we were cooked. Because it went to as low as $87,200. That was lower than yesterday's low, $87,700. And I went to bed, whatever. I woke up, saw my phone, no, 90K, what the heck happened here? So apparently he's backing down on tariff. He's saying, yeah, I take back on what I said. That's what Trump said, basically, right? So I still feel like this risk on sentiment that we're currently having will not be long-lived because of the looming effects of the Japanese yen and its bond markets. By the way, this is also another thing you need to be paying attention to because very recently the US government gave the green light to Japan to enable Forex intervention. Okay? The problem is not with Japan's debt. The problem lies in the value of the yen. Where are we at with yen right now? Oh, nothing. All right. Yeah. The yen is the value of yen right now is really looking like a meme coin, right? Investors are turning to the Japanese bond market, viewing it as one of the safest assets in history, second only to the US bonds. But The problem is if yen continues to depreciate in value, then what's the point of holding on to Japanese bonds, especially when Japan yields are soaring like crazy? Where are we at right now? We're at 2.2%. Big drop off there, but it's not a sharp drop off. All right. So these growing concern among investors lead to one inevitable outcome: intervention, which is the only playbook that Japan has. And what's more so is US is okay with this, right? Just this week, Japan's finance minister secured an agreement with the United States for forex intervention. Now they plan to purchase USD, but behind this move, they're essentially selling off US treasuries. And Japan, being the largest holder of US debt, Japan would offload these treasuries if the USD JPY shoots up to 160. Where we are right now with USD JPY. We're at 158.81 for USD JPY. Right? In January 2025, we were at these levels. And now it's January 2026. We're back towards these levels. If we come back towards the 160 range, Japan will have to intervene. And they did so here when the USD JPY pair was at 161 in July 2024. Japan stepped in and you saw that massive crash here. Okay. And we're already close to that mark. So why is this relevant? Okay. Why should it matter if you're involved in Bitcoin, right? If you're in crypto, why should this matter? Because potentially this will dictate whether carry traders get triggered. If the yen starts to strengthen more aggressively, this can potentially fuel the unwind of carry trades, right? Means investors will begin pulling liquidity out of the US market and US dollars will depreciate, mirroring the issues faced by Japanese bondholders whose yen is currently getting hammered. So in response, these investors will seek safe havens like the yen, euro, pound, gold, right? They're shifting to commodities when times like these happen. Now, of course, based off of last month, we did not see carry trade unwinding after Japan hiked their interest rate, right? And this can be because the factor of forex intervention is not in. And that's the problem. Now, if they're going to be intervening, but more so, this will directly affect US equities and US treasuries. I used to think maybe this also would leak over to Bitcoin because, you know, if NASDAQ dumps, then Bitcoin dumps. If NASDAQ pumps, then Bitcoin pumps. But I had a look at Bitcoin's price action with NASDAQ, with S&P 500. It's not 100% that they are correlated. I think Bitcoin, even very recently, is just doing its own thing. You know what I mean? Like, it's not moving like gold because gold right now is at all-time high. In fact, Bitcoin is moving the opposite way. And on days that the NASDAQ and S&P 500 pumped, Bitcoin didn't move at all. Which leads me to believe, and this is my own personal opinion, is Bitcoin is just its own market. And I feel like if the market structure regulation comes in, and hopefully it will do, and even then, if it does become an act, it will take time for, you know, the structure to be formed. That way, you know, institution involvement gets a bit more regulated, because currently I really believe that Bitcoin is super manipulated, bro. I'm not the only one seeing this. When last night we dumped to 87,200, liquidate before that move, right? We went to 90,000 just before Trump spoke in the World Economic Forum. BTC went from 88k to 90k, liquidated 80 million in shorts. Then after he gave his speech in Davos, it went from 90k to 87k in 1 hour, liquidated 144 million in longs. And after Trump posted on his the Social Truth platform and did his interview with CNBC, right? He's backing down on tariffs on the EU, Bitcoin pumped again back to 90K, liquidated 202 million in shorts. Total $1 billion were liquidated, not 24 hours, but in the span of 4 to 6 hours. And I was watching this live. It's so annoying. And really, it's manipulation, bro. Look at this. White House is buying BTC. BlackRock buying BTC. Net inflow is still positive. Even though you see on CT that they've been moving their Bitcoin to Coinbase Prime deposits, net inflow is still heavier. And we also see Bitcoin treasury companies have been acquiring Bitcoin for the past year. They're in massive drawdown, but they're still acquiring more, right? So, you know, if everyone is buying Bitcoin on spot or OTC, why are we seeing these dumps? Right? It's simply because of the derivatives market with futures and options. All right. Maybe okay, here's the thing. I don't believe in stop loss hunting, right? Best traders I know tell me that it's not true. They're not hunting your stop loss. But I feel like in crypto it is. I feel like in crypto this is the only market where insiders would hunt your stop loss. That's what I think. Like, the more I've been seeing these past few weeks, the more this seems to be the case, and it's so annoying, right? This is true because look at the options gamma. There's a major sell wall at 90K every time. Every time we try to come back up, it's a full retrace, and you notice how we're coiling up on the pump, but it's a sharp dump on the decline. Look at this. It look right. It took a while for BTC to climb towards 90K. How many hours did that take? 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 hours. It took 4 hours for BTC to go from 88 to 90K. And it only took 1 hour for BTC to go from 90K to 87.2K. This is futures driven, brother. And we know this for a fact because every dump has been bought on spot. Here. Every dump has spot flips bullish in delta. They are buying on spot. But the dumps are triggered from futures and options, and especially more prevalent now with options, seeing that the open interest for the first time in history is much bigger than futures market. So what I'm saying is, boys, if it's bullish, but the price is being manipulated right now. That's all I gotta say. Okay? So if you're gonna be trading, be careful. Okay? Be very careful. Don't go high leverage. And it's just so confusing. Because this is bullish, but given the context, I don't even know what the fuck we are right now for BTC. Okay? And if we do not fill that top wick, if we don't get that top wick for this week, then I'm gonna be anti-Semitic. Shit. All right. Okay. So that's all I gotta say. How you guys doing, man? Duke Duke. Hey, change your name to Duke Duke. Pablo's here. Note says, Ron, when did the Asia and London session start right now in UTC time? Asia is still the same, 0 UTC to 7 UTC, I think. 5 p.m. What's 5 p.m.? Wait, 5 p.m. HKT to UTC. Yeah. 0 to 9 UTC is Asia session. And what is it? London session starts now at 4 p.m. It used to be 3 p.m. before November, but when the daylight savings time kicked in, everything is an hour ahead. So instead of 3 p.m., it's 4 p.m. Hong Kong time. That would be 8 a.m. UTC for London session start, which actually aligns with the new 4-hour candle open, which would be theoretically really good to scalp the open. But, you know, these past few days, it's not really treating us very well in terms of win rate. This is why the carry trade doesn't happen, because yen depreciation is indirect. Yield reduction for loans. Yeah, if they give the green light for the forex intervention, it will be the same thing as July 2024, and leading up to that, it would be a 1 month delay because July 2024 was when Japan intervened in the forex market, but it was until August 2024 the carry trade unwinded, so there would be a buffer time. Maybe this is what we're experiencing now, but the intervention hasn't happened yet. And what's a much bigger deal is the US is okay with it, which is very shocking because Trump said in his opening statement they're not okay with forex manipulation. Forex intervention is technically, by definition, forex manipulation because you're intervening, right? So if Trump is contradicting his words, telling Japan finance minister it's okay, go ahead, then yeah, I feel like that will definitely spark some reaction in the market for global investors. That's what I'm thinking. Anita Cho, hello, good morning. But I don't understand why Japan is not going after root cause instead of selling securities, because that's a short-term solution. They don't have to because they're okay. They're thriving off debt. The only issue now is the value of yen being very low. And with the yields that high, it's really not sustainable. The Japan finance minister has already cut taxes on food as well. So it's really just forex manipulation right now. Hello, Aljon Ree, PH. What's up? I think altcoin season is here. Hell no. A crash is loading, we all know deep inside, but when, that's the big question. Yeah, which is apparently there's $18 billion worth of long liquidations at 77K if price goes there. So it's a looming factor too, but I'm not gonna put too much weight on it. If the question is, if insiders or institutions are really hunting stop loss, if this is really the culture now for institutions to hunt stop loss, which is supposed to be a myth, right? It has been debunked. They're not hunting stop loss. But if they are, because they have their own shorts loaded up, then yeah, they would be incentivized to drive price down lower and buy more on spot, which kind of makes sense because every time price dips, they buy a lot on spot. What this is telling us, they're committed. They really believe Bitcoin will go to 1 million or whatever the fuck the price is, because they're committed. Because otherwise, why else would they buy on spot if they don't believe it will appreciate, right? So that's why it's frustrating to see now price dumping, even though everyone is buying on spot, because I think they just need more time, or they want more time to accumulate more on spot, and they're doing it in such a dirty way. They're taking advantage of the highly leveraged environment of Bitcoin, which makes sense, right? Bitcoin is not moving like gold. It is not one-to-one with tech stocks, with NASDAQ, because on some days NASDAQ pump, Bitcoin didn't move at all, right? And Bitcoin's going the opposite way of gold. So my own opinion is Bitcoin is its own market. It's unique. This is the culture that we're going through now, where, you know, institutions are hunting stop loss, I guess, right? So are they gonna force it to go to 77K, nuke even more, create that wick, pick up more spot? Possibly. I'm not gonna rule that out, but if that comes, but we reverse back up, then it's okay. But if we close below, then big problem. It's the same thesis as I have for the macro time frame is for BTC. If we have a close below this higher low, then we're in trouble. Then we're ultimately fucked. Okay, we're cooked. But still, on the daily time frame, it's still higher high, higher low structure. I believe a relief bounce will come towards 93K at least, because we're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days, 6 bearish days in a row already. Yesterday closed bullish, not bad. Can we continue up to fill 50% of this move? That is my question. Okay, and it's Bitcoin doing its own thing, but what's frustrating for altcoin holders is if Bitcoin continues to create newer lows, then altcoins are gonna continue to create much lower lows. And this, what Benjamin Cohen said in his latest video, makes total, like, it's 100%, it makes sense. Okay, you know what I mean? Okay, wait. Here, gold and the rotation trap. He was talking about Bitcoin and altcoin. See if I can find it. Here. Bitcoin is like this. It's, you know, push and a pull, push and a pull. For altcoins, it's push, pull, push, pull, push, pull, right? Every time BTC pumps, yeah, you get the pump for the altcoin, but when BTC has a slight pullback, altcoins dump, like fully retrace 100% of the pump or more. That's why we're cooked. There's no alt season. Bitcoin is just doing like this, right? But for alts, it would be like that, right? Like that. It's just going the opposite way of this. And it doesn't help that ETH had that 1,700, or what? When it nuked to 1,400. Because this looks so messy. It took 3 months for ETH to go from 4K to 1.3K, and then it took April to August, May, June, July. It took 4 months for ETH to reverse and create a new all-time high. And we're just filling the imbalance here. You know, the lower that ETH would have gone, maybe towards like 800, then the deeper this pullback would have been. So if we had never created a low at 1.4K in the first place for ETH, this pullback wouldn't be as severe. But this is completely normal theoretically, because we are at the 50% pullback of this move. I found an indicator that show a long-term bottom of all coins. Let me know which one is it. I'll take a look. Manipulated AF, billions versus retails. Hell yeah, man. I mean, because crypto is like not even regulated, bro. It's not. This is Wall Street's bitch. This is what happens. I saw someone on CT said, you know, crypto is. Was it Benjamin Cohen that said it? He's like, I miss when, you know, crypto before institutions got involved. You know, it's nice to have the exposure from institutions, but yeah, this one, before governments got involved, whatever. So, part of the ISM cycle now. It's part of the business cycle now. So, you know, we got the FOMC meeting coming, and I believe the consensus will still hold rates at 3.5 to 3.7%. Nothing in the environment warrants for a rate cut, right? The PMI for manufacturing and services are contracting, does not warrant for a rate cut. Unemployment claims are getting lower, does not warrant for a rate cut. So I think the next best thing for a rate cut would be if the odds for holding rates is lower than 50%. In March, it's 82%. In April, it's 68%. That's still high. In June, okay, so June would be the best case scenario. We'll get a rate cut. That's 5 months. Will you be able to survive for BTC chopping around for 5 months? If, you know, rate cuts is the only narrative that we have to propel going up. But maybe it could be the case where it's like in, you know, during the bear market, during 2023 and 2024, interest rates were still very high, but BTC was still pumping on the anticipation of rates coming down. So what if that's the case we're going to have? But I doubt it, because it's just a continuation of the overall interest rate cut, if that makes any sense. Let me know if I'm speaking too fast. Crypto market cap's about to skyrocket very soon, because now we could buy US stocks on Solana thanks to Ondo. This enables global players to buy US stock, which was not possible before. But here's the thing, is it really crypto market cap though? I mean, yes, it's tokenized, it is on Solana, but the asset itself is not crypto, right? It's stocks. So I personally believe crypto market cap is only for real crypto tokens rather than tokenized assets. Bought back, huh? Oh, you bought Ronin tokens? What? You bought Ronin tokens, beta bot. What the? What the? This looks like an octopus. Ronin token. I think Ronin. I don't know. I don't know. I'm still holding the Forgotten Runeverse land. You know, it's depreciated 40% already, but I'm still holding on to it in hopes of a good airdrop. Forgotten Runeverse. Where are we even with that? There's no announcement of or any updates of an airdrop. And I think player base has gone down too. I saw. Check volume profile in that sharp dump and check if spot CBD and future CBD divergence happen. All right, let's see. Let me load it up first. What's good, J2? It's been a while. Haven't seen you in a bit. Welcome, man. I'm expecting a short correction on BTC around 88.7. Then we can see a leg up. I agree too. I wouldn't be shocked. I wouldn't be surprised either. Here's why. Yeah. Like. Well, these moves already corrected 50, so they are rational. Good moves. This is how the market's supposed to behave. Push and pull, push and pull, push and pull. Oh, we didn't get that correction there. But we did get there, so this should be the low. Oh, there, tapped 50%. But from here to here, it's obvious we never got that 50%, so would not be so. Wait, maybe we did. Oh, we did. All right. Maybe it doesn't have to warrant for a pullback towards 88.7, but I don't doubt that it will. I don't doubt that it will. What the fuck is this, dude? What is this? I thought we already left this behind in December. This is the inverted Christmas tree. 95,700 my target. Yeah, me too. Me too. This week, I'm still in that long, and I'm hoping we get the wick fill. There's just way too much imbalance here. So, and plus you got that 4-hour gap on the CME at 93,000. So, if not this week, then it's next week. But preferably, I would like it for it to be this week, just so it looks good on the weekly candle. Because I've gone back on every exchange possible to see if there are any weekly candles without a wick on the other side. The last time that there was a wickless weekly wick, say that 5 times faster, wickless weekly wick, so even a small wick like this is like perfectly fine. I haven't seen one of those since I think before 2021, so could this be the first time again that we will see a wickless weekly candle? Maybe, dude. Crypto really surprises you in in ways that you can't imagine. But, you know, based on what I'm taught, there has to be a wick. So it better happen in the next 2 days. Otherwise, we're cooked. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, let's see if it came up. Okay. All right. Let's see if there are divergences with spot and CVD. So it was happening during this time, huh? Okay, this is Binance Futures. Cumulative volume delta. Oh, so many bubbles. Let me get rid of the bubble. But yeah, look at these bubbles. here, so it's doing that sort of structure. Okay, now let's look at spot, Binance Spot. So it's a downtrend, right, on the CVD for Binance futures. But what about Binance Spot? If there is a divergence, it should be higher high, higher low. BTC USDT, that's the one. So when was this? 5 minutes. Here, Christmas tree. It looks like a downtrend too, so it doesn't seem like there's a divergence between Binance futures and Binance Spot for BTC. So just a lot of sell-offs at that time. Maybe if there is no divergence, then it was spot-led selling, which cascade to stop loss hunting for futures. That's what I think. Because they're playing both sides of the market, right? Because remember, they are selling the rallies too. When price goes up, spot also sell. So it might be big players that would sell on spot but also have short position on futures. You know, they're playing both sides. They're gamifying this, to be honest. Yeah. So I think sex hunts stop losses instead of institutions, because how the hell they know where everyone's stop loss is unless they're exchanging themselves. Agreed. We've been hearing also stories of some centralized exchanges. I think in the past it was like MEXC, because MEXC is very accessible, so their derivatives product have seen more losers than winners. So they were saying, this was back in 2023 when MEXC was really popping off. They were saying that they had proof. I don't know. You can see on CT. See if you can. I should have bookmarked it, but there's like receipts and a source from MEXC. But yeah, watch one of that. No. Yeah, well, it's never gonna break. Not until BTC goes back to all-time high. So you want all season, you want BTC to create new all-time high, and then you want from then on for price to keep going, but dominance to drop for BTC dominance. Yeah, it's also problematic right now because, oh wait, maybe not that problematic. I don't know. We're back towards the macro resistance, so I'm not I feel like it's invalidated now to be bullish because of that pullback. I expected the pullback to back towards 5.9% for USDT dominance, then continue on. So from here, when BTC was at 97K, I expected the pullback, then continue on further to attack these levels, but it just gone ahead like this. So not that bullish anymore, to be honest. Yeah, because this is a very dangerous resistance we have. The fact that we are accepting inside 6% and above is problematic. You've had, Japan carry trade unwind here. You had the September lows of 2024 here. Sharp rejection. Trump tariff lows in 2025 here. Sharp rejection, but here we've just been accepting. So kind of cooked. So any pumps that I expect for BTC now is just to be a relief rally. At least fill 50% of every impulsive move. So the past 6 red days that we've had, its 50% is at 91 to 92, but preferably, I want to see it 94, 93, high 93. So that it creates that top wick. It's kind of biased. That's what I'm thinking. But you know, you have really good swing traders that are in swing long and they're targeting previous all-time high. Trader SZ, he's in swing longs right now. You have to take him seriously when he starts posting a screenshot of his position rather than his take. So I'd say these are like takes on the market, but when he starts, posting this, where is it? All the way back down. Yes, clear position. Yeah, he's committed. Also, you got actually, yeah, it's in Discord. Yeah, when you have CT's finest macro analyst is posting a position like this, remember, this guy doesn't use technical analysis. He only uses fundamental analysis to trade, and his TP is at 126k. And he says nothing has changed in his view yet. But it's clear as day, these big boys, their invalidation is at the lows. So for capital flow, his invalidation, his stop loss seems to be 83.26k, right, just at this wick. And for Trader SZ, his stop loss seems like below this wick. Okay. All right. People bought Solana phone, got a really good secret airdrop. Only if you had registered like immediately after you get the phone. I heard that only about 100 people did that, so they only got the airdrop, and most of the other people did not get the airdrop. We have one guy in our office, he has a Solana phone, but he didn't get the airdrop because he didn't click the button. He only bought the phone, never turned it on. So he didn't get an airdrop. Scammed. No ETH pump, no all season, exactly. Why do we want more rate cut? Isn't current rate already low enough? It has to be lower. You want it to really be, 1 to 2%. Because the borrowing costs. And everyone's borrowing. Like the big players will want to make use of leverage position to build their position, not their own money. Because that's why, Bitmine and Tom Lee is doing so. And that's why their PE ratio is so low, because they're borrowing more. I think I joined the wrong stream. What do you mean? What do you mean? All right, because they're making use of the yields to pay back their loan. And it's very effective when rates are low. So there you go. Which complicates things with the Japanese, with the Japanese story now, right? Tomorrow, in fact, tomorrow will be the interest rate decision for Japan. And consensus is at 0.7%. They're going to hold it there, but some analysts believe it's not going to be. They're going to hike it instead. That'll be okay. Delete my earlier message, so it doesn't make sense. What do you mean? No alt season? Okay. Bro. Don't buy alts anymore. Not financial advice, but stick to BTC, stick to ETH, stick to the big coins that actually has value. Even with ETH and Sol, you need to be a bit careful too, because they are inflationary in nature. But the price is propped up this high simply because of, market dynamics. Ron has capitulated. The bottom is in. Hell no, I'm not. Not even close. But I am worried. if we don't have a top wick for this week. See, no top wick. In fact, this can be your homework, boys. You can go back ahead, look at the weekly candles to see if there has been a case where a weekly candle has no wick. So this week, we don't have a top wick. There must be a top wick. If there's a bottom, this better be it. And in fact, it's not as clean for BTC because you didn't take out this higher low. You have created a new low last night. So ideally, if you want to bounce from here, you want this move to be higher to at least break this and then retest, then go. But we barely broke here. A bit subjective. If you want to be anal, include the wick. If you want to have some hopium, you can just use the candle that ignited the move, which is this one. So if we're using the candle that ignited the move, then this should be the bottom, hopefully. Pray to God. Amen. Yippee-ki-yay. Homework is for poor people. Tell that to your kids. Is that why your kids don't do homework? Yo. Alright, boys, take good care of yourselves. Next 4 days, very imperative. We see Bitcoin coming back towards at least $93,600 to even nudge just to get a bit of a top wick there. Then I don't care how you do it, but can we like come back here, right? Alright. And if that's the case, then yesterday should be the bottom. If not, then we're wrong. Okay, we got tomorrow too. All right, boys, take good care of yourselves. Smash up the like button, subscribe to the channel. My name is Ron. John and out. Wait, I checked Ronin monthly revenue on it. They're selling tokens. Okay, one more thing before you log off, guys. I saw that one. Yeah, if they're not getting money, in their from revenue or from treasury, then it has to be from tokens. They're selling tokens to get money, or they're borrowing money. Okay. Wait, may the Lord Michael Saylor save us all. Is he really still buying? Yeah, he's still buying, but the people are fighting him. They're fighting him. They're fighting him in the futures and options market. If the oil, so yeah, may he deliver us the gains. All right, peace.